The words game changer or revolutionary gets thrown around quite a lot in the Philippine automotive industry. But for the most part, brands attach these words to minor updates or incremental changes to their models. However, once in a blue moon, you do get a product that, well, stirs things up. Today is one of those days. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the BYD Sealion 6. Let's start off with one of the best things about the Sealion 6, its price, and allow us to preface this by comparing it against, well, other crossovers, compact crossovers that we've had before on our YouTube channel. First off is the Toyota Corolla Cross V Hybrid at 1,763,000 Philippine pesos. Then you've got the Ford Territory Titanium X at 1,599,000 Philippine pesos. There's also the GAC MQ Hybrid, which comes in at 1,698,000 Philippine pesos, and the Hyundai Tucson GLS Plus Diesel, which comes in at 1,980,000 Philippine pesos. Now, knowing that, you're looking at roughly about 1.6 million Philippine pesos for a compact crossover, whether you're looking at gas, hybrid, or a diesel. Now, in the case of the Sealion 6, this comes in at 1,548,000 Philippine pesos. Now, before the Sealion was launched, you were looking at upwards of 2 million Philippine pesos for a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. The fact that this is a PHEV also makes us feel that it really can stir things up. But what exactly is a PHEV? Well, let's start with what's under the hood. Thank you. Underneath, you still do have a 1.5-liter gasoline engine that produces 104 horses and 135 Newton meters of torque. Now, for the most part, in most driving conditions, you'll be pulled along by the electric motor found up front. That electric motor produces 194 horses and a staggering 325 Newton meters of torque. For when you need a little extra oomph, they can work together to produce a strong 214 horses and 325 Newton meters of torque. Now, that's actually pretty standard when it comes to a hybrid vehicle. You've got a gasoline engine and an electric motor that's working together. But this has the plug-in part in the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, which means that you can charge the batteries on its own. Now, hybrids normally have smaller batteries, but here in the Sealion, it's quite different because this has an 18.3 blade battery. Yep, quite large. In comparison to, let's say, the Kicks, that only has a 2.13 kilowatt-hour battery. On battery alone, you can run the Sealion for about 80 kilometers or till about it depletes to around 20%. And then after that, the engine starts up again and then it'll operate like a normal hybrid. So there's a lot of situations where you can run the Sealion as basically just an EV, even though you don't have a charging point at home. For example, over the weekend, Jack patterned his errands to run where he has access to a charger. Did some groceries at the mall with a 22 kilowatt charger. An hour and a half later, from 40%, the car got up to 90%. Then he dropped off his brother at Capitolio, then back home during Friday rush hour. And total travel time came up to 3 hours for 20 kilometers, and not a single drop of gas was used, and still with 70 kilometers of electric range left. And even if you'd have to go places without a charger, the 60-liter gas tank paired with a full battery can get you up to a claimed 1,000 kilometers of range. But BYD Philippines were even able to push it way over that to about 1,600 kilometers during the Northern Loop and a little extra trip to Subic, then back to BGC. And that roughly comes up to 26 kilometers per liter for the whole trip. Dude, that's crazy efficient. Oh, and if you're worried about battery longevity, hear me out. BYD stands by the blade battery technology, even offering an 8-year or 160,000 kilometer warranty. Oh, and here's another thing. The batteries that BYD produce are also used by the likes of Kia, Tesla, Mercedes-Benz, and Toyota. How about that? Now, knowing that, you may think that with all this technology and the price that you're paying for, might have some caveats in the car. Obviously, no car is perfect. But as we look at the car as a whole, you'll note that the price that you're going to pay is actually quite apt for the automobile. On the exterior, you get full LEDs front and rear. The design, I think, is quite sleek. Some might find the excessive lines up front a bit much, but I personally prefer something like this to an overstyled, huge gaping grille, angry-faced front clip, if you get what I mean. The overall shape is quite rounded and smooth. You have 19-inch alloy wheels with 50 series tires, making up 173 millimeters of ground clearance. At the rear, when you open the power tailgate, you'll find a healthy 552 liters of cargo space, most definitely enough for a balikbayan box and your hand-carry luggage. When you fold the seats, thanks to the fact that it's flat, my goodness, you can fit maybe more than 3 balikbayan boxes and even change for that overnight hand carry. Oh, and I love the fact that it's completely flat, which means pushing things in and out of the automobile is really easy. It is a pleasant surprise to be here at the back of the Sealion 6 because the amount of room that you have here is amazing, considering that this is a compact crossover. Look, the headroom is good, even though there is a panoramic roof, which is a sunroof also, by the way. Legroom is really great. That's Jack's normal driving position, and he's shy of 6 feet. And for no reason whatsoever, here's a size comparison. You realize I'm never letting you write anything ever again, right? Fair. Toys back here include 2 air vents here in the center. Underneath that, you have 2 charging points, Type A and Type C, and a small little cubby. You have bottle holders on either side, a center armrest with 2 cup holders, and your seats, your backrests do recline ever so slightly, which is quite nice. What I have to say about these seats is that they're very comfortable. The bolstering is not too much. The issue, however, is the fact that it's light colored leather. It's good, but the light color, I don't know what the longevity of that is going to be like. So if you have kids, make sure that they're not holding to any pens or ball pens or crayons or anything, because that might not be a good idea. On our quick first impressions video, we did cover what it is that you get up here in the Sealion 6, but we're going to do a quick refresher, and then I'll also give you our thoughts on how it applies in the real world. Now, getting into the proper driving position is not going to be an issue because the seats are comfortable as they are in the rear. They're ventilated too, and they're powered at the same time. Get myself out of Jack's driving position. The steering wheel is also telescopic, which is nice. The only gripe that we might have is that there is no headrest. So sometimes it can be a bit uncomfortable depending on how it is that you drive. You might have to like lean back a little bit more for your backrest, or if you like it straight up, then it's just, it can get bothersome and it'll get some getting used to. Directly in front of you, you have a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, which is nice and bright. It's colored and it has all the functions that you need, your drive functions. In the center, you have a 15-inch screen. This thing is bigger than the very first TV that Lisa and I had in our apartment. It's massive. That also, by the way, rotates, which is kind of a gimmick, but it works fine. The only issue that when it rotates is that it doesn't work Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in the vertical position. It has to be in the horizontal position, but it works pretty well. Its touchscreen has a reverse camera, a 360 monitor, and it also has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, along with the 2 wireless charging pads that are found down below. Now, back to the screen, it's more than just a screen. Actually, it has a karaoke function, but no matter how good the Infinity speakers in here, it's not going to improve your singing. Anyway, there are no physical air control buttons. There's an audio control down here, but there's no physical air control buttons. There is a workaround that you can use the voice command to increase or decrease the fan speed, make it colder or warmer inside, or you can go to the system and try to find it. But thanks to the BYD community, we found out that you can use 3 fingers to control the air, which is if you take 3 and you go up and down, it controls the temperature, or side to side, it controls the fan speed, which is actually quite nice. On top of that, you can control the air by programming the instrument cluster so that you can control it on your steering wheel. The weird thing is that you'd think with all of that, they would have just simply had a physical knob to control the air. Fortunately, there isn't.
But there's a rotating screen.
But there is a rotating, check that out. Bam!
What's so wrong with physical air controls, please?
Chicken or the egg? The Sealion, however, is not devoid of piano black plastics in high traffic area, which is what you have down here. You have your EV and HEV selector, your mode, you have the volume controls, the start stop, which is obviously you're going to use a lot, and the oceanic crystal gear selector. So this area right here is very high traffic. Unfortunately, it does have a lot of piano black, so that's not all that great. There are also lots of storage spaces found here up front, apart from the two wireless charging pads where you can keep your phones there, which are great, by the way. You have bottle holders on either door. You have storage space found here in the center underneath, which is quite large. That's also the same area where your Type C and Type A charging is. You've got cup holders here in the center. Here, the center armrest itself is big enough to hold Jack bottle, which, by the way, we're going to TM that. Jack's bottle. TM. And a nice light that comes in. That's actually pretty cool, which you can change colors inside the infotainment system. So we've explained the technology. Now let's put it to practical use out on the road. But before we do subscribe to our channel because we create all these videos just for you guys.
Subscribe!
Power delivery is absolutely smooth, and it's really one of the best characteristics, I believe, of an EV, because it's just get up and go. There's no spooling of a turbo, there's no downshifting when you need to. You just step on the accelerator and boom, you're gone. I love it. It's so smooth. Yes, I know. I may sound like a broken record when I say that about how EVs are just so smooth and the power delivery and it's just continuous. But when we review cars, we try to review it as if it's the very first time we're stepping into this automobile. Sort of like in the view of what you may have when you very first step into an EV itself. And trust me, you're not going to regret it. And it's got some pep too, because the combined output of the motor and the engine is 214 horses and 325 newton meters of torque. Now that is on tap immediately, whether you're slow in the city and you want to overtake immediately, or when you're on the highway at speed and you need to get in front of a perpetually slow driving vehicle. Yes, that's all there for you. So right now, I am at 68, 69, 70 kilometers per hour. Let's say I want to get at the normal speed of 100 kilometers per hour. In 3, 2, 1. I step on it. It goes immediately, and I'm already there. That was quick, fast, and in a hurry. I better slow down. There are speed cameras here, no? Yeah. Or we could give him Jack's license.
No.
But since Jack was able to charge this vehicle technically free of charge, because he went to the mall, did his errands, and he plugged the car in for absolutely free, we calculated that the fuel that it spent to get to Tagaytay today was 0.9 of a liter. Well, actually 0.9 of a liter for every 100 kilometers. So we traveled less than 100 kilometers. What I'm trying to get at is the amount of fuel that it used was less than a liter. So essentially, it's more expensive to buy a liter of water from a convenience store than it is to power this vehicle from Manila to Tagaytay. How? Who? What?
There's another thing that proves a point in that whole thing that you said.
What?
We're not good at math.
We're really not good at math.
We just said bottle of water, less than yeah.
Where's Earl ba? I would also add and say that yes, there are some caveats to the driving experience. Like for instance, the steering is kind of numb and the car tends to feel a little bit, well, I don't want to say lazy, but a little bit on the heavier side. So it's not a very spirited drive when you're going to be taking it around corners and carving things and whatnot. It's more comfortable, straight, and driving it normally than as opposed to getting racy with it. If your feeling is that you want to get a crossover, but you want a better driving feel to it, like a driver experience, and you don't want to compromise from getting a crossover, then you might want to tend to look at stuff like, let's say, for example, the CX-5 Turbo, which we have reviews on, and the links are somewhere down below. Here, it's a more, really, it's a calm drive. It's not going to give you a racy feel at all. No. The suspension kind of leads a little bit on the firmer side, which I found strange because if it's firmer, then you should be able to take corners at speed when you're carving corners and mountains and whatnot. But no, it tends to be just a little bit more on the bouncy side. The steering is a little bit on the numb side, really. There's not a lot of feedback that you get as a driver, but the comfort that you have in this car, the quietness, the space, and then that just is all amplified by the fact that you save so much money on efficiency because it's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. I think that kind of makes up for it in spades.
There's no comfort like saving money.
No. What's that thing? There's no substitute for horsepower?
There's no replacement for displacement.
Oh, that saying that they're saying that there's no replacement for displacement. In my case, there's no sweeter sound than money in your pocket.
Or no, rather money that doesn't leave your pocket.
That too. The BYD Sealion 6 is an extremely affordable plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. It's comfortable, it's smooth, it's spacious. It's not the most fun drive, but it is absolutely efficient. My goodness. Game changers do only come once in a blue moon, and for 2024, that moon's color is azure blue. What? Was that Badoy? We're keeping it, we're keeping it, we're keeping it, we're keeping it.